a Midnight Waffles podcast.
This is Battle Stations, a podcast about the Columbus Destroyers and the Arena Football League. I'm Frank Walker. Thanks for joining us this week again for the podcast, folks. This week we're just going to jump right into our interview with Destroyers head coach Matt Sauck. Welcome to the Battle Stations podcast. The Columbus Destroyers head coach Matt Sauck. How are you doing this evening, Coach?
I'm doing okay. I'm ready. I'm ready for this next game and finish out the season strong.
All right, sounds good. So what did you do with your bye week? I saw you had some pictures of your family on Twitter there. Did they come see you? Did you go home? What was the plan there?
No, they actually came and saw me. For most days, I ended up working. But a couple days, when we went up to Michigan to see my family, I took a couple days off just to get ready. But we had a lot of positions to fill, so I didn't have too much time off, but it was enough to kind of recharge my batteries a little bit.
Yeah, I would recommend any fans out there to go check on the Destroyers website and the various AFL news websites, as there have been some roster changes here in the last few days. All right, so you got some chance to relax, but doesn't sound like too much. Have you had any time? Go ahead.
No, I was just laughing. I mean, it's just unfortunately that's where we're at this point with the relaxation point of it.
No, yeah, it's the realities of a team with one win. You just gotta kind of grit through and get through the rest of the season at this point.
Exactly.
During the bye week, I'm assuming you don't really have any time with the players. Is that, the coaching staff, is there any time, or was it all like roster moves as far as what you were doing during the bye week there?
The coaches, left town. A lot of the players ended up leaving town. I like bye weeks where we just really, get away from football. I want my guys to hopefully, if they can, leave town. And it's really just like I said, like what I said, just recharging your batteries, where you're trying to recover a little bit, especially coming from that Baltimore game where, to me, it was a fluke game where, it was just one of those games where we just did not play well. And every other game we've been in it, but that game was, we got murdered at the end of the day. And to me, it was good to have that bye week. Allowed us to kind of look at the roster, see what we needed to do. Maybe get rid of some guys that we thought were not really team oriented and playing hard. And so we ended up doing that and bringing some more guys in and just seeing where we're at.
All right, yeah, can understand that feeling that after a loss like that, it kind of helps you reevaluate where things are at. Last week when I was talking about that game on the show, I mentioned it was John Tortorella, the head coach of the Blue Jackets. When they have a blowout, he refers to it as a game where you burn the tape. Was that kind of how you felt about that one?
Yeah, we're moving on from it. Of course, I'm as this coaching staff, we watch it. But player-wise, we'll talk about it. I'm not going to watch it because at the end of the day, it's just a lot of negative. And I want to move forward with Albany. I want to move forward with, Washington after that, and try and finish, this season strong. So, it's just one of those games where, again, we really haven't had a game like that. And it was just everything went wrong and nothing went right. And it was just one of those weird games. And, you just want to, again, as a coaching staff, you want to watch it to look at, see what we need to improve on. And that's why we made the roster changes that we did. But other than that, that kind of game doesn't really, teach you anything.
All right. Now, obviously, after the game against that game, it was nice to have the bye week there. But what are your thoughts? Because, it's not just the Destroyers. Every team in the league has got a real late bye week. What are your thoughts on that with this kind of league? Is it something where you would have maybe liked to have seen the bye week come earlier, or do you get why they do it late, or what are your thoughts there?
Well, I think it has to come down with holidays too. I've been in the league for 19 years now, off and on. And they tend to do a lot of the bye weeks around the important holidays, which is the 4th. I think most teams, leagues tend to not play on that holiday weekend. And I think we only had one game, and then they have their bye week this week. I think it's what was it, Philly and AC, or no? Yeah, I think it was Philly and AC that played. So I don't mind it. It's a 12-week season. It's basically college type season when it comes down to it. I don't mind it at all. I mean, back in the day when you're playing 16 games, the bye week, you kind of want it in that mid-range area where you can kind of recover a little bit from, camp and whatnot. But, with the 12-week season, I think having it right then and there is not too bad. Obviously, if we had a better record, you're going to the playoffs, it's great to have, because you can kind of recover. But, I don't mind it this late at this point.
Okay. Now, I'm guessing you haven't. I mean, do you guys go back to kind of a regular practice week this week then, as far as starting to see the guys tomorrow for practices, or have you already been practicing? Or
yeah, we practiced today. Like I said, we had a bunch of new players. We wanted to make sure that we started going over stuff, watching film. We're preparing for Albany. I mean, that's the important part for us. So, we're getting after it already. Just trying to get everyone ready. Again, when you add 5 people to your roster out of 24, you got to start going over the basics again. And so we did a little bit of that today.
Now, the viewpoint for these last 2 games, is this something where this is about talent evaluation? And I mean, I understand that you always want to win, but in your mindset, is it about that talent evaluation going in the next season, knowing what you have, knowing who you want to keep? Is the main goal, no, we want to go 2-0 these final 2 games? What's the mindset going into these last 2 games here?
We want to win. I mean, I hate losing, and to lose as many as we've had, I mean, you're walking around depressed every day, and it's tough. So we want to win as a team, as a coach staff, as a franchise. We want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to win. But as a coaching staff, you're still looking at the players' talents, seeing if they fit what we want in the future. But you're always trying to win. I mean, that's a given. But the big picture is the fact that, again, we want to look at who we think we would want back next year, or who we might get back next year. With the XFL, happening, who knows, what type of players, they're going to go after. If it's going to be, 2 guys, 5 guys, 7 guys, who knows, on our roster. Then you have to kind of plan for it when that happens. So, we're always evaluating our players, but we're always trying to win games.
All right, and 10 games in, what's been the biggest surprise to you? I mean, I'm sure with having this week off, you've kind of had some time to maybe think through the season a little bit. What was the biggest surprise so far of those first 10 games?
I think our record. I think that's probably the most surprising thing for the coach staff and franchise is the fact that we've only won 1 game. It's just one of those things where 5 of those games were last drive type thing, or we're losing by 5 type situation, and it's just it's one of those frustrating things where as a staff, as the players, as the franchise, they're putting in so much effort into it, and we just can't seem to close out games. So to me, the most surprising thing is really just our record. I knew it'd be tough with a rookie quarterback. I think everyone would know that. I thought we'd have more wins than this. I never thought that we'd have 1 game, won at this point in time. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you're just surprised that that we didn't win more games, to be honest.
All right, and I mean, what do you? If you were talking to fans trying to, I mean, I know this coming game is the last home game of the season. What are you hoping for out of your team coming into this one? A loud building, a win. What are you looking for there?
Like I said, we're looking for a win. I mean, the fans, our last home game, was better than our opening game. So, to me, I think they're doing their part. They're supporting the team. We got to make sure that we give them a good game. And as long as we have a chance at the end, that's all I can ask for. And that's all that we can ask for as a team. Is to have that ball, in that last drive if we have to, and give ourselves a chance to score and win it. But for me, if I'm a fan, I'm just looking for a good game. And I think every home game that we've had has been one of those games where I think the fans have come out and probably enjoyed the game itself. Because it's been tight. It's come down to the last play. It's come down to the last drive. In the fourth quarter, stuff like that. So, I'm excited. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think we're up to 16 rookies now on the active roster. So, I'm excited to see how these guys kind of bond with each other and, see how we do against Albany.
Thank you very much for your time this evening, Coach. We'll let you get back to work, and good luck this week.
I appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you. All right, I do want to thank Destroyers head coach Matt Salk again for coming on the show. It's been great having him on the show with us all season so far. We're getting to a point in the season where it is just watching the games for the fun of watching the games. We were eliminated from playoff contention a couple weeks back at this point, but at this point it's just the enjoyment of each individual game, what's going to happen with it, and where things are going from there. Now, where things are going to get interesting going into these final couple of weeks, and where I'm kind of excited for how some things are going to play out, is that as a Destroyers fan, you get to sit back and watch some of the chaos that's going to unfold here. Because Saturday, the Valor play the Brigade. Obviously, Sunday you've got the Destroyers of the Empire, and part of this I'm referencing to the great work that Anthony Reinhardt's doing at AFLFanzone.com, because he's got these statistical breakdowns and everything else and what's happening, especially in team win percentages, chances of making the playoffs. If you've ever listened to my show on hockey, the Shoot Once podcast, one thing I do a lot on there is I read from an article written by a guy named Don Lashujan. I can never pronounce his name right, so I just kind of fuddle it up every time. But he does kind of a statistical analysis and talking about percentage chances of making the playoffs and percentage chances of doing this and that. And I like it. I mean, nothing's ever set in stone, obviously, but it's fun to kind of just see where things stand. And on this article, I mean, it's 3 teams have clinched the playoffs: the Empire, the Soul, the Brigade. But what's really interesting is the Valor have a 99.4% chance of making the playoffs, and the Blackjacks have a 0.6% chance of making the playoffs, which is just bizarre. It's just crazy when you look at it that way. And the way this week goes, as far as around the Arena Football League, watching how this is going to go, you're going to have teams playing potentially for their playoff lives, at least in this week. Because we got the Albany at Columbus game on Sunday. I encourage everyone to go. Final home game of the season. Should be a good time. If Columbus can pull off a win against Albany in their last home game of the season, that'll be a really cool way for it to go out, at least in the home schedule. Because Albany has just been a monster this season in the Arena Football League. They're 8-2. They by far have got the highest point differential as far as doing better than their opponents. They've just been running over things this season, and the Destroyers have not always looked good. So if the Destroyers can get a second home win this week, that would be great. I would love it. It would be amazing. Looking at the other game on the schedule this week, Saturday, the Valor play the Brigade. The Valor clinch with a win at some point. That's what they need. So one of the 2 teams sitting at home this weekend, Atlantic City, is going to be watching that game with great interest, because if the Valor win, then Atlantic City is out, and the 2 expansion teams are out for the playoffs this year. So if you're a Destroyers fan, I don't know which one you want. I don't know if you want Atlantic City to make it or if you don't. The reason I'm kind of rooting for them is, hey, it'd be fun to see the expansion team make it, even if it's not the one that's us. And the other reason is it makes the Week 13 game against the Valor that the Destroyers play that much more interesting. Because Saturday, July 20th, the Destroyers play the Valor, where that game, if the Valor lose this week, that game has meaning for the Valor. So Columbus might get a chance to maybe spoil somebody's playoff hopes in that final week of the season, which that would be fun, wouldn't it? I mean, when you're not playing for something, it's fun to play against somebody who's playing for something. There's a really cool SB Nation does a cool YouTube channel series called Chart Nation or something like that. I don't know, but it's on YouTube, and if you just look up SB Nation charts, it'll show it. But it's a series of charts that explain some of the statistical things about sports, and one of them is about how bad and abysmal the existence of the Cleveland Browns has been for 20 years. Things are looking better, by the way. But one of the stats they use to evaluate how miserable the Browns' seasons are how many games the Browns play in November and December every year, or at least have, where neither they nor their opponent are playing for the playoffs. They're just it's just a game to be played. And it's not that that's a bad thing. I mean, especially considering that going into these final weeks, like playing against Albany. Albany is playing to lock up home field advantage through the Arena Bowl. If they get their ninth win, Philly can't catch that. So that's what they're playing for. So there's something that somebody's playing for this week in the game against the Destroyers, and it'll be fun to see that in the last week if we can get it. So it's been kind of a crazy season. That much we definitely have to acknowledge. And it's been a lot of downs, but there's been a lot of fun ups. There's been a lot of crazy times. The games themselves have been fun to watch. It's been fun to be at the games. I personally am loving just the insanity that is Hot Dog Wally. This is something I haven't talked about on this show, but when I went to the Destroyers games years ago, I remember the insanity of Hot Dog Wally. And then when the Destroyers came back, Hot Dog Wally came back. And I'm going to be honest with you folks, I have no idea what's going on with Hot Dog Wally. Not in a bad way. I'm not sitting here saying, oh no, they should do something. It just, like, I'm not sure what business, it seems like Hot Dog Wally exists just to be a mascot, which I'm fine with. That is perfectly valid. I have no issue with it. There was just always this idea in my head that there was some kind of business behind this, that Hot Dog Wally was selling me something. And to my knowledge, I can't find out what that would be. And it's just nuts. I just don't get it. And I love Hot Dog Wally. I love the insanity of it. I love how silly it is that there's a hot dog superhero running around with a Destroyers helmet on at these games. But it's just one of the things that shows you how much fun this season has been. There's been a lot of good times, even though, yes, we're 1-9. Yes, it's been a drudge at some point, especially that Baltimore game. Jeez, that was just awful. But it's fun, and the thing that I really enjoy is that we're going to get more of it. We're not sitting here and this is a one-off season and we're going to be 1-9, or we're going to finish, at the best, we're going to finish 3-9, which would be really cool to see us pull off the last two. That would be incredible. But to be, even if we finish 3-9, knowing there'll be another season of Destroyers Football Nationwide Arena, knowing that we will see more teams next season, and that this is an arena football league that is committed to growth and committed to new and exciting things. I will compare it to this. I will compare it to I want to say it was an Alanis Morissette 90s song. It's like rain on your wedding day, my friends. And what I mean by that, I don't know, I'm feeling silly, and I haven't had a drink yet tonight. What I mean by that is, this first season has not been fun. I mean, it's been fun to watch, but the actual winning and losing is not great. And sports are a lot more fun when you win. But that's not the marriage. This is the first year of it. Something that hopefully will be here for years to come. And we are in year one of it. And I am excited about where we're going with this. So thanks everyone who's listened so far this year. We've got 2 more weeks left to enjoy this season, and then we'll keep the show going through the Arena Football League playoffs. I don't know if we'll still have the weekly chat with Matt Salk then. We haven't really discussed that far, but we're going to try and keep the show going through the Arena Football League playoffs and into the Arena Bowl, because we definitely got to talk whenever we know who the expansion teams will be. So thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for listening to the show. Have a great night, and go Destroyers. Thank you for listening to Battle Stations.